I apologize for those of you who already attended this talk, but I didn't have any very new result to present today, so I'm sorry for this. And I will start with the setting. So we consider vortex filaments in three-dimensional incompressible fluids with a small viscosity, so they obey the incompressible Euler equations in 3D. And we focus on vortex filaments for which the vorticity is sharply concentrated on a tube with very small radius. And as the thickness of the tube converges to 0, we assimilate the vortex filament to a curve in 3D, which is parameterized by arc length, chi of t and x, and x is the arc length parameter. And we also observe such vortex filaments in superfluids governed by the Gross-Witebski equations. So here you have a picture of these filaments you can observe in real life, not really now because there are no aircrafts anymore, but the wings create turbulences, and you can observe these vortex filaments created by turbulences. And you can also observe vortex rings. Yesterday, Luis Vega showed you how to create these vortex rings, and you can also observe them in real life, for instance, puffed by volcanoes, by Etna here on the picture. So the evolution of a single vortex filament is, as it was presented by several talks since Monday, it's described by the binormal curvature flow equation, which is written here. And it was derived by Darius in the last century by means of an approximation, which is called the local induction approximation. So it gives the evolution of the time derivative of chi is given by this vector product here. And it has been widely studied in the mathematical literature. There are particular solutions which were already introduced, vortex rings, helices, straight filaments. And Susana Gutierrez, Luis Vega, and Rivas studied self-similar solutions. And with Valeria Banica, Luis Vega studied the stability of filaments with corners and the evolution of polygonal lines. And several people like Bob Gerard and Didier Smets studied the wing solutions and the evolution of polygonal initial data. And there are very recent results concerning the construction of finite gap solutions. Okay. So here we will focus on the evolution of several vortex filaments. So we consider n filaments that are almost straight and almost parallel to each other. And you parameterize them by chi j of t and x. And we will consider a model which was introduced by Klein, Maida, and Damodaran in 1995, which is an asymptotic regime in which we assume that the filaments are short wavelength perturbations with small amplitude of the straight filaments. So this can be expressed like this by means of a parameter epsilon, and with a function psi j of t and x, which denotes the size, if you want, the position of the perturbation with respect to a straight filament, and which is a function with values in C or in R2. Okay, so the picture looks like that. The filaments chi A and chi J are at distance epsilon squared, and they have and there are small perturbations, and X denotes the height of the filament. So when you plug this assumption in the binormal in the Biot-Savart law describing the evolution of the filaments, and when epsilon goes to 0, you get a system of equations for the positions of the filaments, of the profile, if you want, of the psi j, which is the following one. So it's a system of equations in which you have a combination of a Schrödinger part, the first part here, which in fact corresponds to the self-induced motion of one filament, and you have the interaction of the filament psi j with the other filament psi k here. And this interaction, this term here becomes singular when you have collision between two filaments. So when you want to study existence and uniqueness for this system, which is the goal of this talk, you have also to study the possibility of occurrence of collapse, of collisions in finite time. And this will be the study of this, the goal of this talk. if you take only one filament in the previous system, so if n equals 1, you obtain the linear Schrödinger equation, as I said before. And in fact, this equation arises at it's the linearized equation of the binormal curvature flow around a straight filament. So if you perturb the straight filament given by chi of t and x equals to 0 and x is the position of the third component, then you get this, this equation here. So there is a particular, quite simple solution for the system of filaments. It's given by the collection of exactly parallel filaments, vortex filaments, for which psi j of t and x does not depend on x, it's xj of t. And this way you get a system of ODEs, which is a so-called point vortex system, which is very well known in fluids. So it arises in 2D incompressible fluids to describe the evolution of a vorticity when it's sharply concentrated at points. So it's a result by Marchioro Pulvirenti, which was already quoted during this week, which rigorously proves that this point vortex system really describes the motion of the Euler dynamics when the vorticity is sharply concentrated around points. And it also describes the evolution of quantized vortices in 2D. So even for this particular case, in which we only have a system of ODEs and not on PDEs, we know that finite time collisions may occur if you take more than 2 points. So I will come back on this in the next slide. We have, so here I focus on the system of ODEs, on the point vortex system, for which we have conservation of the Hamiltonian H given here, and also the moment I. And therefore, you can prove that if all the circulations have the same sign, there is no collision in finite time. So this is a particular case in which we know that no collisions can occur for the point vortex system. For n equals 2, there are only two possible motions that are uniform translation or rotation. So in the case of only 2 point vortices, no collision is possible. However, for n equals 3, there exists an explicit example of self-similar collision in finite time. And in fact, you can prove that any collision among the system of 3 point vortices has to be self-similar. And it has to take this form here. So this is the trajectory of a collision in finite time. And there is also another solution, another dynamics, which is the one of the uniformly rotating n polygon. So if you place one vortex at each vertex of a regular polygon with circulation gamma j, the same gamma j equals to gamma, and with one central vortex with circulation gamma 0, then you get a solution which rotates uniformly with respect to time. And you also have an explicit expression of the angular velocity omega explicitly in terms of n, gamma j, and gamma 0. So now I come back to the system of filaments, and I will present the previous known results for the existence of almost parallel vortex filaments. Klein, Maida, and Damodaran studied the system of 2 vortex filaments, and they proved that the linearized system around a pair of filaments is unstable when the circulations do not have the same sign, and they proved neutral stability if gamma 1, gamma 2 is positive, so if the circulations have the same sign. And they also proved by numerical experiments that, so it's not a proof, it's a numerical evidence, that the global existence should be true if the circulations are the same, but collision should occur if it's not the case. In contrary to the system of ODEs, for which even if gamma 1, gamma 2 is negative, you have global existence without collision. And the next step was performed by Koenig, Pons, and Ruiz-Vega in 2003. So they considered a perturbation, an initial configuration of vortex filaments that is a perturbation of 3 straight filaments, x1, x2, and x3, by a perturbation by a function which is in h1 of R. And they proved that you have global existence if the circulations have the same sign. And they proved global existence for n equals 3 when xj is an equilateral triangle. And these solutions are straight at infinity in the sense that at infinity, psi j of t and x converges to xj of t. So you have this picture here. So this is your equilateral triangle that rotates uniformly. And the perturb, or that can also translate. And you have your perturbations here, U1, U2, and U3, okay, at height x. And the filaments are straight at infinity. So this was the first rigorous result on the existence of vortex filaments, more than 2 vortex filaments. And so you have some additional information concerning this solution. So the perturbation can grow for the H1 norm at the rate of exponential CT, exponential rate in time. However, the minimal distance between 2 filaments, psi j minus psi k, is strictly larger than 1/2, okay, times the distance between xj and xk. So you have this estimate on the L infinity norm of this quantity, which proves that there is no collision in finite time. And the idea of proof to show this is that if you take only 3 points at the vertices of an equilateral triangle, then the distances xj minus xk are all the same and they are constant in time. And this way you have a conservation of an energy, which is written here, because these quantities are constant. So you can put them in the energy of the vortex filament equation. And this way you get an energy which is conserved in time and which is coercive for this quantity, for this L infinity norm here. So you can control this quantity squared by this energy here. And if the energy is not too large, then you get this estimate. And there is another setting for existence results, the one of space and time periodic solutions, which was studied more recently by Garcia-Azpeitia and also Walter Craig, okay, in previous results. So they constructed by bifurcation theory and by bifurcating from a known solution of straight filaments, a collection of standing waves, if you want, of the vortex filament equations. So in 2 different cases, in the case n equals 2 around a pair of vortex filaments, and in the case of the perturbation of a polygon, a rotating polygon of vortex filament. So these solutions are not straight at infinity, so it's not exactly the same setting and the same kind of proof. So I will now present our results with Valeria and Erwan Faour concerning the existence for more than 3 almost parallel vortex filaments. So we assume we will consider a perturbation of configuration xj, a uniformly rotating regular polygon, as I explained before, with n vertices and angular velocity omega. And here, the situation is more difficult than the case of n equals 3, because even if the distances are constant in time, they are not all the same. You have different kind of distances in your polygon between the points. So we will ask for more symmetry in the perturbation we consider. So we made the following ansatz. We assume that every vortex filament is the same dilation and rotation of the straight filament xj of t by the same function phi of t and x, which should be close to 1 in order to have a perturbation. And you observe that we observe that when you put this assumption, you get an equation for phi, which is a quite simple equation. It's a nonlinear Schrödinger type equation written here, and which is like the Grotz-Vitebsky equation when the modulus of phi is close to 1 in some sense. Okay, so the nonlinearity becomes singular when phi goes to 0, which corresponds to collisions between the filaments. When phi goes to 0, then the filaments collide at the origin. So this is an Hamiltonian equation with energy given by this term here. And this energy is positive when omega is positive. So this will play a role in the following results. And this corresponds to the remark I made concerning the Gross-Pitevsky equation when phi equals to 1. You get the same kind of equation with energy. And we got the following first result. So if you assume that omega is positive, which corresponds to, this condition here on the circulation of the central vortex filament gamma 0 and the number of filaments n, then if we consider an initial perturbation phi 0 such that the energy is not too large, then there exists a global solution which is unique and such that we control from below the modulus of phi of t. So it cannot go to 0, and therefore there are no collisions between the filaments. And the idea of proof is the following. So in fact, we have this coercivity estimate here when x is close to 1. And therefore, we can control, when omega is positive, we can control the second term of the energy by the second term of the energy of the Gross-Pitevsky equation. And in particular, we can prove that if the energy is not too large, then the modulus of phi is close to 1, and we can control it explicitly in terms of the energy. And we can make a contraction argument, so fixed point argument to construct a global solution. And once we have this equation on the perturbation phi, we can try to construct other special solutions like we like to do for Gross-Pitevsky equation. So we can construct traveling waves with speed c smaller than square root of 2 omega, the speed of sound in this context. So we can construct a solution v of x plus ct, a traveling wave for the equation, and this way we get this kind of solution for the vortex filament equation. And v is smooth, and it decreases exponentially fast to 1 at infinity with this rate of convergence here. So we can assimilate these functions to the gray solitons for the Gross-Pitevsky equation. And we have the same kind of stability results also. We can also construct explicit blow-up solutions, which is given here. So we fix the blow-up time to be 1, for instance, and this way we construct a phi of t and x given like this. So this solution blows up in L infinity as t goes to 1, of course. And in fact, the energy of this term is equal to plus infinity due to the divergence of the gradient. So this is why this kind of solution does not enter the setting of the previous global existence result. Otherwise, we would have a global existence and no blow up. So we can play to find many nice and funny solutions for the vortex filament equations. And but we also are looking for examples of collisions in finite time. And yes, our goal was to construct or to know whether collisions were possible and to construct explicit examples of collisions in finite time. So there is a first naive example, which is the following one. So we assume as you remember, in our equation, we have an omega in terms of the nonlinearity. So if we take a polygon such that omega equals to 0, and we can always play with the central circulation to have an angular velocity equal to 0, then phi, the perturbation, satisfies the linear Schrödinger equation. And this is a proposition we get here. So we start here with an explicit perturbation phi 0, which is in fact the evolution of the Gaussian with the linear Schrödinger equation, with the linear Schrödinger flow. And this way we can compute explicitly what this evolution looks like at time t. And this is this formula here. And therefore we get that at time t equals 1 and x equals to 0, all filaments collide. So this is like constructing an explicit solution of the linear Schrödinger equation that vanishes at a given time and a given point, given position. And we can also construct other explicit, because we know that there exists an explicit self-similar collapse of the straight filaments, and therefore it's quite natural to try to construct a collapse around this known self-similar collapse. using the symmetries and the invariances of the equation. So this is what we did. We consider a self-similar, an explicit self-similar collapse of the three-vortex problem given by this. So this corresponds to the picture I showed previously on the self-similar collapse of the three-vortex problem given by this, where T0 depends on the initial conditions and theta of T denotes the angular velocity. It's like omega, it's like a log of 1 minus T over T0. So it's a logarithmic divergence here. And we look for a solution satisfying this assumption here with the same perturbation phi. So it suffices to find a function phi which is which does not blow up. And this way, since all the filaments collide here at position C and time T0, we can construct a colliding solution. And we observe that phi satisfies the same kind of equation as before, except that in the nonlinearity, omega depends on T. In fact, omega of T is given by the time derivative of the angular velocity, and there is a perturbation here. Okay. And by solving this equation, we find an explicit solution, almost explicit, of the form given here with several parameters. And in fact, it turns out that this solution collides before the collision time of the 3 point vortices. So it's quite funny. So here we find a T star smaller than T0, such that the distances between the filaments tends to 0 at time T star. It's a study of this equation that gives us this phenomenon. So in the previous example, we had omega equals to 0, or we constructed collisions around a very particular solution. So here we want to consider a more general case. For all omega different from 0, we want to construct a collection of almost parallel vortex filaments that collide at infinity, that are parallel at infinity. So they have to satisfy this condition here. Psi j of t and x converges to xj of t, as was the case for the solutions of Luis Vega. And we want the filaments to collide at tx equals to 0, 0. So for instance, we fix the collision time to be equals to 0. And in fact, we will consider only 2 situations that are much more understood as the general ones. So we will construct collisions around first the anti-parallel pair of filaments. So we consider this case here, in which x1 of t is in complex notation minus it plus 1, x2 of t is minus it minus 1. So this, I should have drawn a picture, but it's too late now. So it's a pair of filaments. This corresponds to the explicit solution of the point vortex system when you take only 2 filaments with opposite circulation. Okay. It translates uniformly in time. And the other kind of solution we will consider is a rotating polygon with angular velocity omega, which was considered before. And we have to impose some symmetry, because it's and we impose a symmetry that is consistent with the symmetry of the solution we consider, we perturb. So for the anti-parallel pair of filaments, that we assume that psi1 is so this is like assuming symmetry with respect to the first axis, okay? And this way we get an equation which is we get only one equation for the perturbation psi1, thanks to this symmetry assumption, which is here. So we have the Schrödinger equation with the nonlinearity given by 1 over the real part of psi1. And therefore collision arises if and only if the real part vanishes, which is quite unusual when we study Schrödinger equation. Usually we study blow up and not necessarily vanishing of the nonlinearity. And for the polygon, we look for solutions that are invariant by rotations. So this is the invariance that is consistent with the solution we perturb. And this way, we get only one equation for for the first filament, which is this one here. So the Schrödinger plus a nonlinearity given by psi1 over the modulus of psi1 squared. And we have collision if and only if psi1 vanishes. Okay, so how can we solve this? So we proceed in 2 steps. And the first step is to construct self-similar collisions, because first, it is simpler, and secondly, it corresponds to physical observations and predictions. In particular, Zakharov suggested to look for this kind of solutions, but he didn't really solve the corresponding equations. So we started with this assumption here: psi1 is equal to the square root of t times u of x divided by square root of t, which is the good scaling for Schrödinger. And we assume that at infinity, the filaments behave linearly, which means that the profile behaves as a constant, a complex number times x, times the modulus of x. And we assume that when x equals to 0, when u of 0 is equal to 1. So this means that the distance between the 2 filaments at height x equals to 0 is proportional to square root of t. So when t goes to 0, we will really have collision at position x equals to 0. And in fact, this self-similar behavior is indeed observed, especially in quantum vortex reconnection phenomenon. And it was also predicted by numerics. So here I have a picture. So it's vortex reconnection in quantum vortices here. We have 2 vortex filaments that collide, and the distance is proportional to square root of t, and they reconnect and separate in other directions. And this was rigorously established for the quantum vortices, like by Enciso and Peralta Salas last year. So once we have done this ansatz on the self-similar behavior of the filament, we get an equation for the profile U, which is this one in the first case, in which we consider perturbation of anti-parallel vortex filaments. And in the second case, we get another equation with omega, the angular velocity, as usual, and we want to solve it with the condition at infinity I mentioned before. And so we focus, for example, on the first equation, and we rewrite it with another auxiliary function v, and this way we are led to solve an ODE of order 1 with a nonlinearity u given explicitly in terms of v, and we proved that there exists a global solution such that u is Lipschitz, and such that the real part is always larger than 1. And in fact, it is equal to 1 at x equals to 0. So we are indeed in this kind of situation here for the 2 filaments. And in particular, for all time, the real part of psi1 is larger than square root of t, and it is equal to square root of t at x equals to 0, which means that the only collision we have occurs at time t equals to 0. And the sketch of proof, okay, it's not necessarily very interesting. So we introduce a set of functions. In fact, it's a fixed point argument, and we have to define a good set of functions. So this is the set of functions v, such that v of 0 equals 1. The first order derivative vanishes at 0. And we have an estimate on the L infinity norm of v minus 1 and v prime divided by x. And we look for an equation, for a solution by a fixed point argument of this equation when we expressed explicitly u of v in terms of v. And if v belongs to the space E, we can estimate the integral term here in order to show that the real part of this term is larger than 1/2 of 1 plus x, or 1 plus 1/2 of alpha x, because this term is small. This is what is written here. So this works when alpha is large enough, actually. So the first step was to construct self-similar solutions, but the issue with the previous solutions is that, okay, we get a collision at time t equals to 0 and x equals to 0, but the solution we consider are not straight at infinity, and we really wanted to keep our model of almost straight vortex filaments. So the idea in the second moment was to renormalize the previous solution, the previous constructed solution at infinity to obtain a correct behavior. So it was a very naive approach, which actually worked. You take the previous solution, square root of t of u of x divided by square root of t, and you divide it by the behavior at infinity, which is alpha x. So this term here tends to 1 at infinity. And therefore, 1 minus it is really the straight filament we perturb. And R is a remaining term, which is which has to satisfy R of 0 equals to 0, so that we really have a collision at time t equals to 0. So we have to find the correct correction here, R, such that this solution psi is a solution of the previous equation on the vortex filament. And we got the following results. So for alpha sufficiently large, there exists a time t0, not too large, and the solution we construct on 0 t0, such that at time t equals to 0, the solution collide. Because we can construct a solution as above, as here, such that R of 0 equals to 0. And in fact, we have an estimate of the L infinity norm of R for all t. It vanishes at square root of t divided by 4. So we have additional estimates on the behavior of psi. In fact, we can prove that the real part of psi satisfies this lower bound here on square root of t plus alpha x. And therefore, we really have a Saint glass configuration, if you want. Okay. And the only collision occurs at t equals to 0 and x equals to 0. And the sketch of proof is the following. So we want to construct our correcting term R. So it has to satisfy a Schrödinger equation with source terms plus A of R. So this is a term depending on R, which is explicit here. And it's explicit in terms of R and U, the profile. So we divide it in two terms. The first term tends to 0 at infinity, because we did everything in order to get something which goes to 0. And the second term is also an L2 part. Okay, and in your source term, you will have additional terms that are integrable and bounded and behave correctly. So we want to solve this equation in a correct space, Banach space, with a fixed point method. So we consider the following space X of functions belonging to H1, such that a certain norm is not too large, and this norm is given so we put time weights in the norms. No, we divide by t to certain exponents, so that we will be able to estimate this term with a linear evolution of A of R in the space X. Okay. So in particular, if R belongs to X, this soup will be bounded by 1/8, which is arbitrary, and therefore you will have an L infinity estimate on R in terms of square root of t, which corresponds to the previous estimate, and you will also be able to estimate the L infinity norm of R in the neighborhood of 0. So we want to estimate this operator A of R. And in order to do so, we use Strickhardt estimates to show that we really have a fixed point in the space X. And we need localized Strickhardt estimates. Okay. So this is the statement of our Strickhardt estimates we obtain. For a given function f, we get that the this term here is bounded in terms of different norms of f, and we will be able to apply this to f equals to the source term and to the difference a of r1 minus a of r2. And in particular, we will use here that we can choose alpha large enough because here we have some terms here involving alpha, and we will play with our terms to show that in the end we really get a contraction. And more recently, we started to work on another model for collisions of our vortex filaments in general, which was introduced by Zakharov for the dynamics of one single vortex filament parameterized by always a function psi of t and x, and where x denotes the third component. And we assume that this vortex filament has a small circulation and it evolves near a straight stationary filament with strong circulation gamma. We say strong circulation for the straight filament in order to explain why this straight filament is stationary, because we assume in some sense that our weak vortex filament does not influence the straight filament. Okay. And in fact, we will take, in order to describe the evolution of this vortex filament, we come back to the binormal flow, but we do not linearize with respect to the straight vortex filament. We keep the nonlinear part of the binormal flow, and this way we get this equation for the evolution of psi, in which instead of having the Schrödinger operator, Laplacian of psi, we get this first order derivative of this operator here. Okay. So when we assume that dx psi, the norm of dx psi is very small, then we get the Schrödinger operator. And the energy corresponding to this equation is given by here. So the only difference is that here we divide by square root of 1 plus psi squared. So we do not have the L2 norm of psi prime, but we have the L1 norm. So this, at infinity. When psi is large, we have the L1 norm of psi prime. And we have several questions, so we are studying this equation, and in particular, we want to solve the Cauchy problem for this equation, even for gamma equals to 0, which will be a first step in understanding the evolution of the weak filament. So what about the Cauchy problem of this equation here? And what kind of collisions should we expect? Is it possible to get a collision of the weak filament to the straight filament? And we could try to study self-similar collisions, which were observed numerically and conjectured to exist by Zakharov, and under this form with a profile, the same profile as before. But here we have to put another parameter in order to keep to be consistent with the equation. And so this is what we are trying to do now, and I thank you for your attention.